Austraeoh by Imploding Colon. Chapter 1. Sunrise. The morning sun greeted her like a furious torch. Golden beams of light glittered across innumerable cloud tops as Rainbow Dash glided towards the fiery horizon. She felt a cold gust of air rippling across her tail, and she knew the final throes of night were over. Rainbow Dash took a deep breath. A pair of shaded goggles reflected a green world as she tilted her gaze earthward. Pulling her wings to her sides, Rainbow effortlessly dove down through the cloud cover until she was skimming a series of rolling emerald hilltops. Sporadic ponds and rippling blue streams interrupted what was otherwise an immaculate landscape of high grass and bushy knolls. Several lakes loomed in the distance overhead, sparkling platinum reflections of the rising sun. Rainbow's nostrils flared. As she darted mere inches over pond fronds and cattails, she was greeted with every scent and flavor of spring. On a whim she spun upside down, gliding, and allowed her wings to break the top of several emerald blades. As a result, she was christened with a liberal spray of fresh dew. The sensation was cold, tickling the skin beneath her blue coat. It was the first thing that made her smile in hours. There was a deep lake up ahead. The waters were so tranquil that the entire basin could just as well have been filled with pure sapphires. Feeling suddenly exhausted, Rainbow Dash lowered herself to the sandy banks, relaxing her wings for the first time since the prior sunset. Her hooves twisted and dug into the dirt, relishing in their wet, mushy feel against her tingling limbs. Trotting to the very edge of the lake, she raised her goggles, exposing a pair of squinting ruby eyes that took in the sunrise, and then tilted down to take in her own reflection. Rainbow's mane was wind-blown, its many-colored threads mixing wildly as a testament to her nocturnal journey. Her coat was unkempt, bespeckled with dust. In spite of her haggard features, the one thing not remotely affected was her eyes. They appeared as alive and awake as ever as she looked herself over, then reached two hooves up to her goggles. Removing the article, she sat down and examined them closely in her grasp. There was a great deal of condensation and grime gathered on the lenses. Rainbow leaned forward and breathed hotly on the goggles. Using her condensation, she wiped the twin lenses free, then moved to slap them back on her crown. She paused, however, upon seeing the canvas strap of the item. There was an image of a prancing caped foal, along with the initials S.L. Rainbow Dash smiled gently. She finally placed the article back on her head and gave her reflection one last look. Her blue wings lifted, exposing a dark blue saddlebag strapped around her body, tailor-made to fit her agile figure. The pouches on either side were snapped shut by the insignia of a crescent moon, and from the meager weight of what was lying within, Rainbow Dash knew that it was only a matter of time before she needed to find food again. Just then a familiar sensation struck her, that of a golden glint being shone into her face. Rainbow Dash grunted, then glanced lethargically at what was weighing on her neck muscles. A golden pendant hung just below her throat, emblazoned with a ruby shaped like a lightning bolt. For the briefest of moments she felt a wave of dizziness, and considered tossing the object viciously into the waters. Instead, she sighed, gave her face one last look, and slammed her head full force into the surface of the pond. After a major dunking, Rainbow Dash flung her head straight up. She gasped as her wet mane filled the air with a wild splash of lake water. Reveling in the cold sting, she grinned devilishly, slipped her shaded goggles down, and took off once more towards the sky, burning a straight path for the rising sun. The air bit harshly against her wet face. It served to remind her that she was alive.